What's going on, traders? Connor back at you with another helpful video. So every single day I get the question, what is share float? So I'm going to just basically go over in as much detail and as simply as I possibly can as far as what the share float is. And the idea is by the time I get done with this, you really shouldn't have any other questions because this is going to be very simple. In understanding share float, it really doesn't take too much crazy thought, shall we say. Okay. So share float. Monday through Friday, I'll do a live stream of stocks that we could potentially see that have value. And something you'll hear me mention quite often is share float. Now, what is share float? We're going to get into that right now. But you'll hear me constantly say, this one has a high float. This one has a low float. I'm not interested in playing this one because the float's so high. Or I'm very interested in playing this one. The float is low. Okay. So what does that all mean? Okay. So on the day that a company becomes publicly traded, whether it was Nike, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Snapchat, PetSmart, whatever. It doesn't matter. Every company that becomes publicly traded. So if we're looking at Thinkorswim or E-Trade, and we go and type in a ticker and we're thinking about buying a company or buying some share of stock, that company at one specific day became publicly traded, and that's what we call the IPO date, the initial public offering. And the IPO date is basically the date in which that company goes public and allows for the public to openly buy that company or buy shares of that company and start actively trading that company. So on the IPO date, the company will release or allow for a certain amount of shares to be purchased by the mass public, okay? And that's what happens on the IPO date. So on the IPO date, we have a certain amount of shares that Google allows for the public to buy, and that's what becomes the float. The amount of shares that they allow to be purchased by the open public on the IPO date is what determines the float. That becomes the float, okay? Now, the float is important when it comes to trading because that allows us to know how much supply there is in that company. And what is the supply? How much do you have? How much you got available for me to buy, okay? If there's only one gas station left in the whole world, you can assure that that gas station is going to be price gouging the hell out of everyone if they're the only gas station left with gas. Okay, so same kind of concept. It comes down to some supply and demand, and we'll get into that a little bit. So, float is the amount of shares that are initially offered to the public on the IPO date. That becomes the float, and this is all relative. So you have to determine what kind of trader you are, okay? I'm a day trader and I trade momentum. That's why I like stocks with low floats. When the stock has a low float, we usually can see price fluctuation very quick, whether it's to the upside or the downside. We can see a quick price fluctuation with low floats, but that's all relative, okay? We could have a float of only 1 million shares. We could have a float of only 1 million shares, but if there's only an average volume of 5 shares traded a day, then the price isn't going to move. And that goes back to the whole concept of trading, that if you want to make money trading every day and you want to make a substantial living, you have to find stocks that are trading on high volume, which means you have to find stocks that people are trading in order for the price to move, okay? So when we have a lot of traders in conjunction with low float stocks, there's a good chance we're going to see a nice price fluctuation, especially if we have a lot of traders trading a stock and then we have some type of news catalyst on top of it, on top of a low float, money to be made or good trades and good setups to possibly see. Okay, so float is relative. It is very relative. So there's honestly no point of ever using really you could have low float stocks that don't move at all because no one's trading them, okay? You could have a stock with a 20 billion share float, which is outrageously huge, and the price won't move because no one's trading it, okay? And we'll get into that a little bit more. So you could have a 1 million share float stock that you're looking at buying. That's a very low float stock. Price will probably move quick if people are trading it. If no one's trading it, the price isn't going to move. It'll do the same thing as a stock that has a 10 billion share float. It won't move. You could have a 10 billion share float company or 10 billion share float stock that moves very quickly if there's a ton of people trading it. So take a 10 billion share float company, for example. That's a high float. chances are you're not going to see that price move quick, okay? You're not going to see it move very, very fast. Although, it's all relative. So if you have a 10 billion share float company, but there's on average 9 billion shares of volume traded a day, then that means that company's price is going to fluctuate drastic, okay? It's going to be drastically fluctuating, okay? You're going to see price movements, okay? It's just like penny stock trading. When we have a low float stock with maybe 10, and I consider low float anything below 20, 25 million shares, okay? But again, it's all relative. I can have a low float stock below 20 million, but if no one's trading it, that float means absolutely nothing, okay? The float is just there to tell me how many shares are available to purchase. It's just telling me the supply. So when I look for low float stocks, it has to be accompanied by volume. And if the volume isn't there, then that low float stock has to be accompanied by a catalyst. A catalyst can bring the volume needed to push that price, okay? So again, float is in conjunction with volume. Volume is in conjunction with float. They go hand in hand. They need one another to thrive. Or rarely shall I say a low float stock needs volume to thrive or do what we want it to do, okay? So again, it's all relative, okay? It's just all relative. And the float it's just a supply. That's what it comes down to. The float and volume, it's a supply and demand, simple economics, okay? If you know the basic understanding of simple economics, all you have to do is just put it into stock trading terms. Simple economics of supply and demand is float and volume. When you have a low float, that means there's a low supply. When you have a high float, that means there's a high supply. So when you have a high float but low demand, price isn't going to move. But when you have a low supply and high demand, price goes up or down. I mean, it could either way. But that's the concept, that when you have a low float but you have a high demand, the price will fluctuate very quickly, allowing you to get in and get out very quickly, okay? You can see 30, 40, 50 cent moves in one minute candle with low float, high demand stocks, okay? On the flip side, if you have a really high float with low demand stock, you're not going to get 1 minute candles to give you 40, 50 cent moves, okay, or jumps. It's just not very common to see, okay? So that basically covers float. That's really all it comes down to. So you'll hear me mention it all the time. So right now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take a look. We're just going to hop over to FinViz and take a quick look at a few stocks and examples of where you yourself for free can find the float. You can find average volume and stuff. And FinViz updates a day late. So all this information that comes from FinViz is going to be for the previous day. It updates at night, or at some point at night it'll update. You'll have all the information for that trading day, but you won't have it on hand for the trading day you're in because it's delayed by 1 day, which is okay because for free you're still getting a very useful tool. Okay, so taking a look at FinViz, okay, let's just look at some stuff here real quick, and I'll move this down in this left-hand corner. Okay, so the first one that I'm on is Bank of America. Okay, so we're looking at BAC right now. If you look at where my cursor's at, okay, if you find it here, I'm circling right here. That is the share float column, okay? So you can go to FinViz, and let's just redo this. So I'm going to type in Bank of America. You just go up here, BAC, Bank of America. Let it load. It'll give you a chart, you know, some cool stuff there you can look at. It's super useful. And here we go. Here's share float. Share float is 10.54 billion. Remember what I said a low float was? I said a low float, I consider anything below 20, 25 million shares of float. That's what I consider a low float stock. So as a day trader, never in my life will I ever probably trade Bank of America. And why won't I trade Bank of America? Well, because it has a 10.54 billion share float. Huge float. I could justify trading this stock if maybe it trades on average 4, 5, 6 billion shares of volume. But unfortunately for me, it only on average trades 69 million. The current volume for yesterday was 33 million. 33.4, okay? So I will never make the money I want to make trading this company's stock, okay? Because it doesn't move quick enough. It's ATR. I'll do a video on ATR, but its ATR is 48 cents. Its average true range, 48 cents, okay? So I'm never going to make a substantial amount of money trading a stock whose ATR is only 48 cents. That's not bad, but it's just all in all, you'd have to be spot on with your trade to make that whole 48-cent move, which is very unlikely every single time. Okay, so again, Bank of America has a 10.54 billion share float. I could justify trading it if there was enough demand for the stock, but there's not. There's only 69 million on average trades, 69 million shares of volume. That's not enough to push this price drastically. Okay, let's take a look at another one. I think, not that I like this company, but we'll take a look. It actually made some pretty good move today. I think it went up like 80% at one point. But TOPS, now look at this. TOPS, TOPS, absolutely horrible company. I never recommend investing in it. But then again, I'm not your financial advisor. But long story short, pretty bad company. All right. 6.44 million share float. So a 6 million share float. That is extremely low. That is a very low float stock. Okay. And we can see price move very quickly, and we can make a lot of money trading something like this. And why is that? Because, well, the supply is only 6 million. Look at the volume that it traded yesterday, 10 million. You see what I'm saying? The supply is way more, the demand is way more than the supply. There's more people demanding that stock than the available shares to trade. That means that price is going to go boom, boom. It's going to fluctuate very quickly and in big increments, okay? So we can make a lot of money, okay? That's what that means. We can make a lot of money when prices are fluctuating. And now you may come over here and say, well, the ATR is only 18 cents. The one on Bank of America was 48 cents. Again, this is all relative. An 18-cent move to a stock that costs, I don't even know what this one costs anymore. What does it cost? Let me pop over here and just take a look at it. TOPS. I think it's low. Okay, so exactly. Its ATR is 18 cents. Okay? On average, it moves 18 cents a day. But it's only, the stock is only 40 cents a share. So you're saying that when the stock is 40 cents a share, and on average it moves 18 cents, it's moving 50% of the cost of the whole stock, a share price in itself. Okay, so again, all relative here. So that's where you have to understand understanding what is relative, what is not. But again, you have a 6 million share float stock. The demand yesterday was 10.8 million. So huge demand for a very low float stock. You can see price fluctuate very quickly with something like that. Imagine if this stock today just said that it had the cure for cancer. Price would be ridiculous. Any stock that cured cancer, price would be ridiculous for that matter. So I guess that was a bad explanation. We could take a look at another one. We'll just take one that's right in the middle. We'll take XXII. So we'll take one that's kind of middle of the road. Okay. So look at this one. This one has a float of 85 million. So well above 25 million. Again, like I said, I could justify trading XXII if it were trading on high enough volume. If the float is 85 million, but on average it trades 40, maybe 30, 40 million shares of volume, then we could see the price fluctuate very quickly because there's a lot of people trading it. And it very well could happen at one point. This stock could very well do that, If it's tobacco trials and this testing that it's doing with nicotine and reducing nicotine levels and carcinogens within cigarettes or whatever it is that they do. I've been following them for a while, so I know that they have some line of business in that area. If they can manage to really crush it in that industry, you can bet that there's probably the volume will pick up, and then that share float will now be relative to the amount of volume being traded. We could probably see a quick price fluctuation. Okay, so that's a middle of the road one. You have 85 million share float, and the volume 7 million. It's still not quite enough to really give it that oomph that it needs to really make a quick price movement. Okay, so again, that's really all I have for you there. As far as that goes. So I hope that video helps. You really should, after that, you should kind of understand the whole economics and, idea behind float and when you're looking at volume. I think that's a pretty good job there. So if you guys got any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I get tons of comments every day. It's really hard to even get to them, but what I do is I go through and I read them, and it helps me give me a better idea as far as where a lot of my viewers are at and what I need to kind of focus on for my upcoming videos. So go ahead, leave the comments in the section below. There's links in the section in the description box below to my our Facebook groups, my Facebook, and any of the stock trading chat rooms that I'm a part of if you want to be a part of that community. Okay, so just go ahead, take a look at the description box below, leave your comments in the section below, and like and subscribe if you see value, and I'll see you guys next time. All right.